Another bowl MVP for Frank Gore Jr. It's Locked On Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. New customers, join today, and you'll get $200 in bonus bets. If your first bet of $5 or more wins, visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. All right, we'll get to the basketball here a little bit later. We'll recap what happened on Thursday and look ahead to this weekend. But Thursday was the East-West Shrine game, and Frank Gore Jr. made out again. He was was it the Lending Tree Bowl? I know it changed this year. I think it was the Lending Tree Bowl last year that he was the MVP on. Southern Miss winning in Mobile. I think it's 68 Ventures now. And he did a whole goodbye to Southern Miss. I believe he's been invited to the Combine, not to the Senior Bowl, so he took full advantage of doing well in the East-West Shrine game. It did take a little bit of a minute to get the box score, but we do appreciate them eventually posting it. Frank Gore on 6 carries had 87 yards. More than half was on 1 carry of 49-yard touchdown run. Still, all right, so he get 5 carries. I mean, even if that's the case, it's 5 carries. He gets another, 38 yards? That's still pretty good. So he's had a phenomenal career at Southern Miss, trying to follow in his father's footsteps, obviously. Probably could have left Southern Miss following last season. He could have gone pro. He could have transferred, and he stuck around. And obviously Southern Miss didn't have the season that they were planning on having. They did come into Lafayette and took down the Cajuns, that's for sure. Played better towards the end, and they're bringing back the Fighting Will Hall, so that is good to see. But I'm interested to see how Frank Gore Jr. does. Where does he go in the draft? I presume he's a day 3 guy. We'll see if he's moved up. And some of these guys, you got to get in the right system or in the right organization. For Tajay Spears from Tulane is a great example, right? He comes in behind Derrick Henry, and most likely Derrick Henry not coming back to the Titans. And it's a whole new thing for the Titans. But Tajay Spears is the in-house running back right now for Tulane. Can Frank Gore Jr. find that spot to share responsibilities? And that's basically what Tajay Spears did with Derrick Henry. Although we know, Frank brings the super back to the backfield as well. He can throw it a little bit when and if called upon. Derrick Henry may have been like the last superback's the wrong term in this case, but predominantly one carrying the football 25, 30 times a game. We don't see that much anymore. If you're getting 20 carries in a ball game these days, that's a lot, right? That football teams do their own load management, mostly because they need the fresh guys at the end of the year, right? It's for their own good. It's not being done inherently for the betterment of the players, so they last longer in their career, although that may be part of it. But it's more along the lines of, it does us no good if we're running some guy 25 to 30 times a year, and now we're playing an extra ball game, and now he doesn't have anything left in the tank come the playoffs. So we don't see that much, we don't see it at all anymore. For the most part, everyone shares responsibilities. I'm not sure if the Patriots were one of the first ones to do that. Kind of, from Antoine Smith to Corey Dillon to, all the guys that they have now. They just kind of run through it. Even, Kevin Falk was the third down back in the day. They had a couple of different guys when, James White was the main running back. So it'll be interesting to see what Frank Gore Jr. does. He's obviously very talented. He excels when when the spotlight is on him. Right in the bowl game last year in Mobile, and it would be 2 years ago, probably in Mobile, as it turns out, and the East-West Shrine game. So, congratulations to Frank. We do wish him all the best. It will be interesting to see where he goes. And so we did talk to, interestingly enough, and you'll hear this from Kamani Vidal. We had a chance to talk to him, and it's interesting because you getting ready for an all-star game is different than getting ready for the combine, right? One, you're actually playing a game. The other one, you're not. And they're testing your strength, agility, size, and speed compared to seeing you doing it in a game. Whereas Kamani Vidal, he was actually pretty honest, sort of giving it away. He's like, I've been training for the combine for the better part since the season wrapped up for Troy, since the bowl game. And we're going with that. Whereas, did Frank prepare for, I think he just got invited to the combine. He's preparing to play in the East-West Shrine game, and that's different than getting ready to play, ready to compete in the combine. And so we'll see, probably trying to shed some weight. You're trying to, how to go about lifting, do the bench as many times as you can, and really trying to, shave off a few tenths or hundredths of a second. You really can't go from a 4.5 to a 4.3, but can you be a 4.45 type of deal, right? That's what you're looking for. So it'll be interesting to see how Frank Gore Jr. does. I think, again, if he is going to the combine, I believe that he is. But he absolutely had another spectacular bowl game. Did he catch? They did not. Oh, he did get one target, and he caught a pass for 3 yards. Also in the ball game, Jacob Caboti for the Cajuns. He played a little bit, didn't get much of a chance. 3 carries, 35 yards. That's pretty good. The East did not run it nearly as much as the West. West run it 31 times. The East ran it 14 times. So a good job there by Frank Gore Jr. Again, his final totals, what was it? 6 carries for 87 yards, 1 49-yard touchdown run. So very cool for him. And again, congratulations to Frank Gore Jr. And we'll see how he does in the upcoming draft. All right, let's take a timeout. When we do, App State stays hot, go on the road in what was an interesting ball game. They take down Georgia State. We'll come back and talk to you about that right after this. We tell you about FanDuel. My voice just squeak? Did it just squeak a little bit? Happy Super Bowl to all those who celebrate from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. If you're like me, Super Bowl Sunday is all about scoring the best seat on the couch, grabbing your favorite football snacks, and placing some super bets. FanDuel has so many ways for you to end the season with a W or 2 or 3. Not only can you bet on who will win Super Bowl 58, but FanDuel also has bets for which players will score a touchdown, how many points will be scored, and so much more. New customers, join today and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports book partner of the NFL. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Let's look back to what happened on Thursday night in the Sunbelt. App State stays hot. I think they've won. They've won 7 in a row. They have won 7 in a row. They take down Georgia State 81-71. This game was tied at 30 in the first half, and that may oh boy, these two teams were not very good for a lot of the first half. With 10 33 to go in the first half, so that's almost half of the first half. It was 10-8. Chris Mantis from App made a jumper that tied the score up just before the 10-minute mark, and it had actually an and one. So it was an 11-10 halfway through. I mean, this was, as Dickie Vitale would say, Brick City, baby. Neither team could hit a thing. Let me see if I got it. No, I don't have it from 2 nights ago. And I will say App State took a little bit of a lead. Let's see what their biggest lead was. They led by 9 on a CJ Huntley dunk, 23-14. And 28-19, Trayvon Spillers hit a jumper with 3:31 to go. But then Jaden Turner hit some threes, and the ball game was tied at 30. And then it got away from Georgia State and fast. App came out hot. Again, tied at 30. It took 2.5 minutes for Georgia State to get on the board at that point in time. And they had scored 2 points. It took them almost 5 minutes to hit another bucket. And by that time, they're down 44-32. So not great. Defensively, once again, it was Justin Abson having a big effect on the ball game. 7 blocks, 16 rebounds. He actually shot the ball. 6 of 7 field goals, 3 of 6 from the free throw line. He had a big ball game overall, 15 points. Harkham had 22 points. He hit 4 threes. Spillers, he had his, Mr. Do Everything for the Mountaineers, 13 points, 7 rebounds for the Mountaineers. For the Panthers, they had actually 5 guys in double figures, but just defensively, they could not get stops. Again, both teams scored 30 points in the first half. Georgia State scored 41 in the second, but App scored 51. So they just could not stop them. App State finished with, they were only 6 of 18 from 3. Georgia State was 8 of 19. I guess the difference was the free throws. App State 17 of 26. They didn't even shoot them all that well, but they were 17 of 26. Georgia State only 5 of 9. That's where your big difference is. A 10-point game and a 12-point differential in free throws made. So App State still not. They improved to 9-1. All of a sudden, Georgia State has dropped their 5th in a row. They are 4-6 in the Sun Belt. Elsewhere yesterday, Marshall, they lost a bad one at home to Old Dominion, 83-76. And this one got away. I believe ODU finished the ball game on a 20-5 run. Let's see what we got here. Yeah. So Kevon Voiles, 5:55 to go, gets an and one, giving Marshall a 71-63 lead with just under 6 minutes to go. And ODU takes off from there. 20-5 run. Ouch. Not great at all. If you're Marshall, very impressive as if you're ODU, to be honest with you. They actually held a 41-36 lead at half and, go down 8, not playing well for 3/4 of the second half and played well for the last quarter, and they get a win. They're 2-8 in the Sun Belt. Marshall, who had entered the week, we'll say, tied for 3rd, they fall to 6-4. And all of a sudden, the Cajuns, we got to check this out. Who else? I think JMU is also tied for 3rd now because they had a big win. So Marshall falls 6-4. That's a tough loss at home. Marshall also drops to 11-12. And ODU, is that their second win in 3 ball games? Did I got that right? No, they had lost 3 in a row. All right. So, although, wow, they've beaten Marshall twice. They swept Marshall. That's their only 2 wins in the Sun Belt. Ouch. That must be a bad matchup for the Herd. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sun Belt, your team every day. Sending our condolences out to our guy, Richie Riley from South Alabama. His mother had passed away last weekend, and he's missing this week's games. Texas State wins just their second ball game of the season in the Sun Belt, 74-66 against South Alabama. Tough to do it without your coach. But again, what is going on with Isaiah Gator? I do not know. All right, Turbo Jones, 16 points. He led South Alabama. 4 different Bobcats in double figures, including Sykes. He led the way with 18. But again, I understand the defensive philosophy that we're going to try and stop Isaiah Gator. I got it. But he scored, 2 Saturdays ago? Let's see if we got a date on this. 2 Saturdays ago, the 20th, he scored 25 points against the Cajuns in a losing effort in a game that wasn't all that close in the second half. Scored 25 points on 8 of 14 shooting. He has made 5 field goals since in 3 ball games. 5. He is, let's see here, 23. He is 5 of 23 in his last 5 of 23 in his last 3 ball games. I do not understand it. He's got 11 points. We can go through all these ball games. You know how many times that Isaiah Gator has not scored 11 points all season long? Didn't score 11 points against Jacksonville State, 1 for 10, scored 3. Didn't score 11 points against Alabama. The whole team scored 46. He scored 8. Every other game, he's got more than 11 points. And in the last 3 ball games, he's scored 11. Something is off. I don't get it. Nice win for Texas State. South Alabama drops to 3-7 in the conference. Texas State is now 2-8. All right, elsewhere last night, Troy beats Georgia Southern. I'm not sure this game was all that close. I think Georgia Southern made a little bit of a run at the end of the first half, but Troy dominated. Someone on the comments said that Troy was only 1-7 on the road. And any road win, I'm not going to say, well, Georgia Southern's only 5-16 entering the game. No. They were 5-4 in the conference. So any win on the road is a good one. And Troy really, dominated. I think it was 16-2 at one point in time. And Georgia Southern had gotten back in the ball game, trailing by 7, but they still, not that great of a run, to be honest with you. They may have gotten within 4. They were down by 15 at halftime. Troy beats Georgia Southern, should say the final score, 84-63. They may have gotten as close to, let me see, because they did make a run in the second half. See how close they got. It may have been 7. They did get within 5. They got within 5. That's as close as they got. Once they were down by a bunch. Like they had 2 points for 6 minutes. Malik Tidwell had their second bucket at the 13:47 mark, making 16-4. So Troy with a nice victory, 84-63. Troy 8-2. They are in second place in the Sun Belt. James Madison cruises. Probably didn't have that one right. I'm not sure how well I did picking the games on Thursday night. James Madison, relatively easy victory over Coastal Carolina, 105-67. That's a romp. It was 52-34. That was never a ball game. James Madison stays in a tie for third with the Cajuns. Both teams 7-3. Remember, JMU wins that tiebreaker because they beat the Cajuns in Lafayette. And I guess that would matter. Here would be the big difference if you get, so it's a double bye if you're a top 4 seed. And if you get to the semifinals and there's no upsets, which will never be the case. Usually it's not the case. The 2 plays the 3 seed, right? And the 1 plays the 4. So I'm not sure that it matters. But James Madison, who got swept by App State, it might matter. Well, they would avoid App State until the championship round. Well, maybe give somebody else a chance to knock them off. All right, let's take a timeout. When we come back, we'll check out the standings and go over Saturday's action. Big one. Cajuns going for 7 in a row themselves. We will do that when we come back on Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. A quick thanks. We are continuing to increase the subscribers. We are starting to get some more responses. December and January are a busy time for some coaches, so hopefully we'll get some more on there. Rumors have it there will be a coach, one of the new football coaches, joining us on Monday, so stay tuned for that. And then we're trying to get some more basketball coaches as well. So, again, thank you so much for tuning in, continuing to grow the channel. And I'm having a good time. Softball's coming up, and then baseball's not too far behind that. So, looking forward to covering those sports as well. Please subscribe on YouTube, and don't forget about those audio podcasts. Wherever you get your audio podcasts, just search Locked On Sunbelt, and obviously Apple Podcasts and Spotify are the two most popular. All right, we'll wrap it up with Saturday's basketball action right after this. Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. I say that stuff in my sleep. All right, let's check out what the action is on Saturday. As we mentioned, the Cajuns hosting South Alabama. It's a 7 o'clock ball game. There is a Mardi Gras parade at 6:30. It's a good thing that I know that, because I would have gone over there at 6:45 and not seen the first half. So I may get over there, bring some dinner, and see if I can get in at 5:30 and just avoid traffic. So that's a thing around here. All right, so the Cajuns looking to win their 7th in a row. They get South Alabama at home. That was going to be a tough game for South Alabama to begin with, and now they'll be doing it without Richie Riley. That makes it a little bit tougher. All right, Georgia Southern 5-5. They're hosting App State 9-1. I'd say that's a trap game. Not a trap game, but a letdown game maybe for App State. Is that a letdown game? They had a nice one on the road against Georgia State. Georgia Southern coming off a big blowout loss at home to Troy. I'd be surprised if Georgia Southern, beats App State. They're good. App State is the best team in the conference as of right now. Arkansas State coming off a nice win. They're taking on Monroe. Monroe may have more issues than we realized when you got teammates shoving each other. Arkansas State coming off a win. They're 5-5. Monroe is 3-7. James Madison 7-3. They're hosting ODU. I think Old Dominion had a huge crowd for that ball game. Was that a few weeks ago? Let me see. Did they already play at Old Dominion? They did. They already did. And JMU won that ball game 78-62. So JMU looking for the sweep. Troy taking on Georgia State. Tough to win on the road. Do not care who's playing who. We'll see what happens here. I would still pick Troy 8-2 in the Sun Belt. Georgia State 4-6. Marshall looking for the bounce back to bounce back after a brutal loss. They're hosting Coastal Carolina. I would think the Herd would be in good shape in this one. 6-4 taking on Coastal Carolina 3-7. And Southern Miss. We'll see if they get Victor Hart back. Andre Cabello probably not on the road trip, and he's still dealing with the after effects of a concussion. Hopefully he's getting better. Texas State coming off a win. They're 2-8. This is one of those games Southern Miss needs to be careful. If there's no Victor Hart, be careful. Texas State gets a little bit of, I don't want to say momentum, but confidence is the word I'm looking for, right? ULM had won 3 in a row. Hadn't won a Sun Belt game yet this year. They win 3 in a row before losing to the Cajuns earlier in the week. So Southern Miss needs to be very careful, or else they could fall further back in the standings. Let's check out the standings. All right, up top is going to be App State. They are 9-1. Right behind them is Troy. They are 8-2. And then you have the Dukes, JMU, and the Cajuns, both 7-3. And as we mentioned, JMU is beating the Cajuns, so they have the tiebreaker there. The Herd and Southern Miss are both 6-4. It's important for those teams to stay close in case the Cajuns stumble or JMU stumbles. They want to be able to get into that top 4 seeding and have a double bye as well. If they lose ball games that they shouldn't, like maybe Southern Miss just did, and it's going to be tougher to get into those things. Again, I still think the Cajuns are going to be on it may not be a 10-game winning streak. We'll see what happens when Bowling Green comes into town and they have to go to ODU before they get to App State, but they very well could be on a 10-game winning streak when they face App State in a few weeks. Arkansas State, 5-5, right behind Marshall and Southern Miss. They're tied with Georgia Southern. Georgia State, 4-6. The Warhawks, Jaguars, and Chanticleers, all 3-7, and the Bobcats and the Monarchs are 2-8. Should be mentioned, all 14 teams do get in to the Sun Belt Conference tournament. It takes a little bit, and they all play in the same spot, the men's and the women's, so it takes a little bit of time, and you do get an off day in there, as it's a little bit odd. Or they did last year. I'm sure they still do this year. But we'll see how that goes. Again, getting the double bye, although that didn't work out for all the teams last year, like JMU, like Southern Miss. So it is an issue. So these teams, although they may have played a game or two, no one's tired after one game. I'm not sure if people are tired after 2 games. And if you have an off day in between, you're really not tired. By the time you've played 3 or 4 games and the other teams have 1 or 2 less than you, then that'll make a difference. That'll make a difference. All right. Again, we will we'll post some stuff here a little bit late today from the Senior Bowl. We'll get that up here as well. Probably just be, well, we'll put it up on video on YouTube and then link it to and put that out on social media. All right. So be on the lookout for that. All right. Everybody have a great weekend. Again, be on the lookout for probably Monday. We will be joined. We'll tease it from one of the new coaches, football coaches joining the Sun Belt. So we'll have to find out who it is come Monday. We probably can't keep a secret all that well. So we'll put out some hints throughout the weekend. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm your host, Dave Schultz. Everybody have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you again on Monday. You've been listening and watching Locked On Sun Belt, your team every day.